Welcome to Upon Further Review. This is week 2 of our weekly Butler County area high school football program. My name is John Enrietto. I'm the sports editor of the Butler Eagle, and we are sponsored on this program by Troy Allen Chevrolet Buick GMC and new sponsors from last year who are now back this year, Conlon, Tarker, and the Butler Health System. And our host this week will be Derek Pyda, one of our sports writers. Derek up in the left-hand corner there. We're also joined by Mike Kilroy. So, Derek, I will throw it to you, and you can take over the program from here.
All right. Well, guys, week 1 was blowout week. It really was. Our closest game was Slippery Rock's 27-7 win over Sharon. So we each covered a blowout. John, what stuck out for you about the last week's slate when you look at those final scores?
Well, when I look at it, the game that none of us were at, actually, because it was up in Erie, but obviously we got a very comprehensive report on that game. But even though Butler lost to Cathedral Prep 55-21 on the surface, looks like a blowout score, but it was actually a 13-point game in the third quarter against a prep team that's considered a state powerhouse, a contender for the state title this year. Cooper Baxter, Butler's quarterback, ran for over 100 yards. I think he threw for 125, ran for 121 or something like that. And their tight end, Charlie Krombacher, a huge game, 6 catches, 88 yards. Prep as good as your had no answer for covering him. I think Butler's got a go-to guy there, and I think they laid a foundation for maybe heading toward finally turning their program around a little bit.
They did. They definitely took a step forward. The fact that game was close in the third quarter is a good sign for Eric Christie and company. Mike, how about you? What stuck out for you about week 1?
Well, that's also the game I wanted to talk about, because it's weird to say that 30-point loss is encouraging, but it was for Butler. They hung in there with a really good Cathedral Prep team. Cooper Baxter showed that he's a legit top-notch football player no matter what class in the state. They're going to do a lot of good things with him. He's got more weapons around him now. I look for Butler to really feed off of this. I really like that. Like I said, it's weird to say a 30-point loss is encouraging, but I think they really have something to build on there. And also, I want to talk a little bit about Carson City going to Montauk and winning 31-8. Carson City, I'm really impressed with them. Micah Rupp's going to make a huge impact for them on both sides of the ball. As good as he is at safety coming up and run stopping, he delivered some tough hits and kind of made his presence known there Friday night. He might be just as dangerous as a wide receiver. He had a big 66-yard touchdown catch. He's a deep threat. He stretches the field for Carson City and allows the underneath guys to work and allows that running game to work. So Micah Rupp might be a player we might be talking about for a long time.
Yeah, I covered Freeport's game. It was a home game against Deer Lakes, and obviously, despite the lack of a crowd, it was still an emotional night for Freeport with Garrett King out with a testicular cancer surgery, so he's going to be gone for the season. Cole Charlton came up huge in that game, and the really cool thing about that was he's best friends with Garrett, and he said at the end of the game, he said, "Everything I did tonight, I did for him." So I was
cool.
I felt grateful to be at the game. It was an emotional experience for that team. The 3 games I lost, I just want to throw this out there. The 3 games I lost in the picks, the teams I picked got outscored 97-22. So,
where's your clown outfit?
Nice big piece of humble pie for me. So
Yeah, but
you need your clown nose.
Yeah, you know what though? With all those final scores, any one of us who missed a game, we missed by a wide margin because there was no close score last week.
The closest game was what, 27-7?
Yeah.
Yep. Slippery Rock
20-point game.
Yeah. You and Mike, John, both won 6-2. Me and Scoop won 5-3. But we'll get on to this week's picks a little later.
Scoop.
First, the discussion topics I want to start off with. We each covered a game Friday night, and obviously the crowd just either was not there at all or very minimal. Mike, what were your impressions of just the atmosphere that was at your game Friday night in Cherry Township?
Well, as you can see from my background, I got the Slippery Rock background. I think it's from last year. Plenty of people in the stands. A lot of atmosphere that just was lacking Friday. There's no other way to put it. I was at Montauk, Carson City. Usually, when those two teams play, it's electric. The 50-50 is huge. Everyone is in full throat, yelling, screaming. You could hear it, but Friday you could hear the quarterback calling out the calls. Even with there were some fans there, but It just did not feel like a football Friday night. It just didn't. I had a hard time really kind of getting myself juiced for that game, which is which is weird to say for a Carson City Montauk game, first football game of the season. Usually I'm pumped for that, but it was hard. It just was not the same. I know you guys, we talked about it Friday night, how it was just didn't seem like it was football season yet. Hopefully that changes. Maybe they'll let more people in safely, and we'll get some of the atmosphere back. But it just, quite frankly, it just didn't feel like a football Friday night.
John, you were down in Jefferson Township for Knoch's game, and you had a unique experience walking into the stadium. Tell us a little bit about that.
I did. I could tell as soon as I parked my car in the parking lot, it was going to be a different night, because I parked my car, we get out, I'm walking toward Knoch Stadium, and I see the majorettes leading the marching band out of the stadium, and with a bunch of fans, I'm assuming band parents, following them. I could tell right away this was going to be different. The band never did return. Well, the way Knoch did it was they had the band play their halftime show an hour before the game, so the band parents could get in there and check it out. And then the band vacated the premises, as did the band parents. And then the quote-unquote football crowd came in. The football teams came out for warm-ups, and they let a few fans in. I think that there might have been 70 fans in the stands, but echo Mike's thoughts. To me, it was not the same at all. I mean, not having a band there, halftime was almost eerie. It was just silent. They played a little bit of tape music for the cheerleaders to perform a little bit during halftime for a couple of minutes, but other than that, it was quiet. There was no one there. I almost felt like I was watching a scrimmage or a practice rather than an actual high school football game.
Yep. Yeah, I was down at Freeport, and I'd say maybe there was 40 fans in the stands. And from the players' perspective, they are playing, and I know for them that's the most important thing. But man, without the band, without the crowd, it really was a different atmosphere. And like Mike said, hopefully soon more fans will be allowed in, and we'll all get that. The players, the fans, the coaches will all get that Friday night feel, because I know it's something we all miss because we've all covered it so many times. The next topic, we got a lot of young quarterbacks, or some of them are even upperclassmen, but they're first-year starters because they're taking over for star quarterbacks like Zach Rocco. He graduated from North Catholic. Anthony Kaminsky's gone from Carson City. John, what are your thoughts on some of the quarterbacks that are taking over for established stars who graduated, and exactly how difficult can that role be for a young kid?
Well, I'll tell you, two of them didn't seem to have any trouble with it whatsoever. Joey Prentice at North Catholic, you talk about exploding onto the scene. 218 yards, 4 touchdown passes. He also ran for 114 and scored 2 touchdowns himself. And then William Mokel, what they call him, Zip Mike, I think that's his nickname.
Zip Mokel.
He's 19 at 24 for 239 in his debut against Sharon. Are you kidding me there? I mean, there's 2 guys who stepped right in. Gary Schaffhauser, Derek, I see he's on your list on a Freeport. We all know Freeport's a situation. The surgery that Garrett King endured, the way his team in that town is rallying behind him is great to see. And the sophomore Zach Clark, who stepped in for him, did an adequate job, and Freeport was able to win in the first game. But it is tough. It's tough on any high school kid who's got to follow in an established quarterback who was productive and who won games. But those names I just threw out there, though, they had no trouble with it whatsoever.
Mike, what are your thoughts? You cover Slippery Rock. You deal with that team a lot, and obviously they're one of the teams that's replacing a star quarterback in Vito Pelosi. Yeah.
Well, the thing is with quarterbacks is everyone has to start out sometime. Zach Rocco had to make a first start. Some of the other guys we mentioned had to make a first start. Vito Pelosi had to make a first start. So there is a process, but man, these guys are off to a great start. It's going to be interesting to see how far they come. I know Coach Larry Winders of Slippery Rock was very high on Mokel in our conversations. He said he throws a nice ball. He's very accurate, and he kind of showed that Friday night. Slippery Rock's offense, they like the short passing game, getting those guys in space and letting them make plays. And you need an accurate quarterback who can throw those bubble screens, who can throw those quick slants, who can throw those, quick reads, passes out into the flat. And it seems like Zip Mokel has the arm to do it and has the intelligence to do it. And, first start, you have to think he's going to get better and better as he gets more comfortable. And Joey Prentice, it just seems like North Catholic finds guys to replace guys all the time. Prentice, again, he's fitting that mold where he's a threat to run and throw. He showed that off this past week. He's going to get into a tougher part of the schedule here later in the season, so we'll see how he progresses for North Catholic. But man, those two guys, you got to feel good if you're North Catholic and Slippery Rock right now about your quarterback situation.
Yeah, I think one thing that makes it easier. I'm not saying it's easy, but easier for a first-year starting quarterback, whether he's a freshman, sophomore, whatever year, is if he has a really talented base of skill players around him. You look at North Catholic, like you mentioned, Joey Prentice. He has this last season's leading receiver in the county, Nick Mayer, 40-some catches, almost 900 yards. So when you go out and take the field and you kind of feel maybe a little bit overwhelmed, you look around and you say, you got player makers around you. Just find a way to get them the ball. They'll help you out, whether it's the running game, the passing game. And Joey Prentice, I know it's just one game, but this could be the beginning of a big season for him, because not only is he talented, but they've got a lot of skilled kids around him too.
You know what? One other note before we change topics here. You also have to have people blocking for you too. That offensive line is huge for a first-time starting quarterback.
Absolutely. It's all it comes down to what happens in the trenches, right? That's what the coaches always
absolutely. That's what the game's about.
The over/under this week, I looked at the numbers from last year, and I know that Teddy Ruffner won the scoring trophy with 152 points from last year. Now this year, instead of 9 regular season games, we've only got 7. So Ruffner got off to a great start Friday night, scored 4 touchdowns and a win over Hampton. John, I'm going to throw this to you first. With the shortened schedule this year, 2 less games, he scored 152 last year. Do you see Ruffner scoring over or under 110.5 points?
Well, I'm no good at math, dating back to my high school days. I was horrible at math, but I did some quick figuring on this one. If Teddy Ruffner averages just 2 touchdowns a game for 7 games, that's 94 points. If I'm not correct, he already scored 4 touchdowns in the opening game. So I'm going to go over, and I'm not only just going to go over. I'm going to go way over. I think he's in for a monster season. I really do.
Wow, Mike.
Yeah, he's going to blow past that 110 mark, I think, because if Barnes scores touchdowns, it's probably going to be Teddy Ruffner scoring them. And I think their offense is good enough now with the development of Quinn Fuller, that passing threat, that's going to open things up for Teddy Ruffner. Anytime they get close to the goal line, it's going to be Teddy Ruffner left, up the middle, right. He's going to break off some long touchdown runs. John, I think your math was good. I did the same math. It's a little bit over 2 touchdowns a game, and he's already way ahead of that.
Well, if you look at this,
here's the question: is it regular season or total season? Because they're probably going to play.
I was talking regular season. Yeah.
Regular season. Yeah, it is a little bit over. I figured it out. It's a little bit over 2 a game, and I think he's going to blow past that. Yeah, I could see him averaging 3 touchdowns a game easy.
3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns per game is 156 points. So
he might even break his record or surpass what he scored last year in a short season, which would be remarkable. I go way over on this one.
I'm going to be the black sheep here. I'm used to it. Though. First of all, I do think Teddy Ruffner is obviously the favorite. We felt that going into the season. His first week, last week, scoring 4 touchdowns. He's obviously still the favorite. But whether or not he gets over 110.5 points, John, you did mention Quinn Fuller. I think he's obviously in a better position this year to make plays.
He is.
And it might take away a few of the carries. If they're a little bit more confident passing the ball, it might open things up for the running game. It might also mean a few more passes per game than Mars had last year, because Quinn Fuller was just a sophomore, just stepped into the starting role a few weeks into the season. So I think he's going to win the scoring trophy. I just think it's going to be maybe just over 100 points.
You know what? I'm still waiting for that Teddy Ruffner doll. I'm still waiting to see it.
It might make an appearance.
All right.
Emma actually was running it through its paces today, so we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see if she wakes up before we're over here.
Is that mass produced? Can I get one of those?
Yeah.
No?
Well, I'm still trying to find a small enough Teddy Ruffner jersey to fit on the bear. It's been a challenge. But
you might have to patent that. I don't know.
I might have to contact Scott Heinauer and see if they can whip me up a very, very small Teddy Ruffner jersey to put on a teddy bear.
Nice. Well, let me know if it works out for you.
Never know.
On to the
2020.
It's 2020.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. On to the picks, John. We're going to start with you. Our first game on the schedule this week is obviously a team you are used to dealing with. Last week, Butler went up to Erie and gave Cathedral Prep a battle, and we were all impressed with that. This week, they stay home and they're hosting McDowell on Friday night. What are your thoughts on McDowell coming down to Butler?
Intriguing matchup for me because Butler did do a good job on Cathedral Prep's passing game last week. It was their running game that really hurt them. McDowell's a passing offense. Chris Juckno, their quarterback, threw for 199, 4 touchdowns in an opening win over Erie High last week. They're going to bring that passing game down here, and I think they'll have some success with it. But Butler's going to score their share of points. I think they showed that last week. But Butler is primed to get a win here. Could happen. I'm going the other way, but only slightly. I'm picking McDowell 27-21.
Mike, what say you?
I'm going with Butler.
There you
It's
go.
the first time in like 3 years I picked Butler to win a game. I think they legitimately can beat McDowell. They showed a lot last week, like we said. I mean,
They did.
Again, it's weird to say it, 55-21 or whatever it was loss, but I'm all aboard the Butler bandwagon with Cooper Baxter running the show. He's an impressive athlete, and I think he might be enough. He might be a difference maker in every game Butler plays this year. I think they squeak out a win against McDowell, 26-21.
Well, I'll say this. I will not be at all surprised if Butler wins this game. I think it's going to be close.
And if they win, that's really going to propel them because obviously McDowell beat Erie pretty handily, and Butler's going to be licking their chops to get a shot at Erie. They could be 2-1 here shortly.
You're right.
Yeah, as we said before, I was impressed with. I never thought that game last week would have been as close as it was in the third quarter, but it was. I think this is another week where Butler finds a way to keep it close. Maybe they even have a lead in the second half, but I do think McDowell's going to pull it out. But as John said, I think it's going to be a close game. I got McDowell winning 29-20, but a close game, a good game. So good luck to Butler in that one. Next, we got Seneca Valley. Now, they are getting a late start to the season. Their opener last week against North Allegheny was canceled because a Seneca player was exposed to the virus a few weeks ago. So now they open up at Hempfield. John, do the Raiders open up the season with a late victory, their first game of the year, but basically week 2 for everybody else?
Well, Seneca Valley usually handles Hempfield. I do think they'll beat them again, but I don't think they'll beat them handily. As you mentioned, it is their first game. You're always going to get through the first game jitters. They're on the road against a Hempfield team that beat the Norn by a couple of touchdowns last week. I am picking Seneca Valley, but in a bit of a tight game. I'm going 20-13 Seneca Valley.
Okay, Mike, do the Raiders start off 2020 with a win?
This was hard because again, we haven't seen Seneca. We don't know how they handled the layoff. We don't know what that did to their psyche and what that did to them while watching everything else kind of open up and then having to wait, kind of sit on their hands and wait another week to play. But I think Seneca's going to win. I agree with John. It's going to be close though. I think they're going to have a little bit of rust coming out of the gate. Hempfield's maybe shook a little bit of that off, so it might be a little bit of rust start for Seneca. But I think they pull away. Ethan West, I think, is going to be the difference maker. He had a big year last year, even though he was hurt right there for part of the year.
He missed the last 2.5 games with him.
Yeah. So I think they're going to get him going. I think if there's one guy on that team that is going to be hard for Hempfield to contain, it's going to be Ethan West. So I think Seneca wins 35-28.
Okay. I didn't find this out until over the weekend, but apparently Hempfield had a scrimmage 2 weeks ago against Penn Trafford, and from what I hear, they lost. Hempfield did about 3 or 4 starters for the year in that scrimmage.
So you're withholding information. So withholding information from us there.
Yeah. I don't know what positions these kids were, but 3 or 4 starters.
Yeah.
And that's just so tough because the season was already short, and now all of a sudden you're down 3 or 4 starters. Hempfield did come back last week, and they did beat Norwin to open the season 28-14. But I just like Seneca Valley in this game. Like, I agree with you. I think Ethan West is going to be the difference. And I think Seneca Valley is just going to be a little bit too much for the host Spartans. I got Seneca winning 30-17. All right, Knoch coming off a disappointing opening effort against Highlands. John, this is another team you deal with. Now they go down to Greensburg-Salem. Greensburg-Salem's one of those programs that normally struggles. A good season for them is usually about 3 or 4 wins. Will they get the better of Knoch on Friday, or will it be the other way around?
I think this is going to be a close game. As you mentioned, Knoch coming off a tough 39-7 loss to Highlands, but Greensburg-Salem, an equally tough loss for them. Plum handed it to them a pretty good 36-13. Plum did have a 100-yard rusher in that game. Alex Briggs ran for 115, but their quarterback struggled. He was only 6 of 25 throwing the football. Highlands primarily hurt Knoch through the pass game. I don't see Greensburg-Salem doing the same thing. I think Knoch bounces back in what should be a really tight game. I'm going Knoch 17-14.
Mike, you've been down to Greensburg to cover a football game, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's a nice place to cover a game. Actually, you have a nice view of Greensburg from the press box. It's a nice place, but
it's like right in the middle of town down there.
Yeah, it's right in the middle of town. But man, Knoch gets off to these slow starts sometimes. Last year was an exception. They got to a hot start and ended slow. This year, again, I know their line is experienced, but with all those new guys at the skill positions, you saw kind of what happens with that triple option. Sometimes you're not all on the same page, and things go awry. So, but I think Knoch's going to pull this one out, though. I think it's going to be a close game, but a low-scoring game. But I think they pull it out 20-14.
Hold on to the football, though. Knoch lost 3 fumbles last week, too.
I'm sure they worked on that this week.
Yep,
I think they're going to figure that one out.
Greensburg-Salem's coach Dave Kiefer said in a preseason preview that it's probably going to be midway through the season until he figures out exactly who his starters are. Now, granted, this year, because of the virus, mid-season's basically week 3, week 4.
Yeah, mid-season's next week.
Yeah, it's next week. But I realize that, obviously Knoch has some issues they're dealing with too, and those were brought out last week with the loss to Highlands. But I'd like them to get this win. They struggled last week, so did Greensburg-Salem, but I do think Knoch's in a better position, at least at this point in the season, because apparently they know who their starters are. Apparently Greensburg doesn't. So I like Knoch to win this game 24-12, come back home with that first victory of 2020. This is an interesting matchup very early in the season, but considering both teams are coming off an impressive win in week 1, Mars beat Hampton, Highlands beat Knoch. Now it's the Golden Rams hosting Mars on Friday. Mike, do the Planets start the season 2-0?
I think they do. I think, we talked about Teddy Ruffner earlier, but I think the key is going to be that passing game and Quinn Fuller. They're getting more confidence in him. The play action might be huge. I know they run the wing T, but they can do some creative things with that in the passing game too. So I think he's going to be the difference. I think he's going to hit a couple big passes. It's going to open things up. It's going to be a heck of a game. I don't know who's covering it. I can't remember, but I'm envious of who's covering it because it's going to be a great game. I think Mars comes out on top in this one, 31-24.
John, good game or blowout?
No, great game actually. I think don't sleep on Highlands. Like I said, I saw them last week. They've got a good sophomore quarterback. This kid throws a nice ball. They have a solid veteran running back. Ran for over 100 yards against Knoch last week, and they have 2 receivers who can get down the field. They can burn you with the deep ball. But I think the difference here from Mars' perspective, one, Mars has a Teddy Ruffner in that ground game is going to control the clock a little bit. It's going to kind of keep Highlands offense on the sidelines for a bit. That can make the difference. I'm picking Mars, but also in a close game, 28-21.
Last week I said that it was going to be Knoch's ground game. It was going to keep Highlands offense on the sidelines, and it didn't turn out that way. This game, I'm looking at the fact that obviously Highlands has a really good offense, and Mars only brings back 2 starters from last year on defense, Ben Chismar and Teddy Ruffner at linebacker. So I think Highlands is going to hit some big plays. I think they're going to score their points, but in the end, I do like Mars to go on the road and pull out a win. Like you guys, a close game. I got the Planets winning 27-24. Apollo Ridge coming to Freeport. Now this is a non-conference game. Most teams are only playing conference games this year, but since Summit Academy is in Apollo Ridge's conference, and Summit Academy is not playing this year, so Apollo Ridge had to find a few other teams to play. So they're playing Freeport. This game's at Freeport, their second straight home game. John, do you see Freeport starting the year 2-0 against a pretty tough Apollo Ridge team?
Yeah, Apollo Ridge opened up the season with an electric win over Digginer Valley, 44-7. They opened it up offensively all over the field. They had a running back, Logan Harmon, run for 116. Quarterback Jake Fellow threw for 209 and 4 touchdowns. They had a receiver catch for ball for 128 yards. I think seven catches. I don't think Freeport's offense can match that. I think Freeport will score some points, not enough. I'm picking Apollo Ridge 34-21.
Mike, do you agree with John?
Yeah, you got to worry about a little bit of an emotional letdown for Freeport this week too. They had such emotional outburst there with the quarterback situation, with the unfortunate cancer diagnosis. They rode that emotion obviously quite well on Friday. Now you have to worry about maybe a little bit of a letdown now that the kind of the air going out of the balloon. It is at home again, but I don't know. But this year, I don't know how much home field advantage matters. I think Apollo Ridge is gonna come in and win. It's gonna be a tight game. It's gonna be a low scoring game. I say 14-13 Apollo Ridge.
Last week, Apollo Ridge played Ligonier Valley. That was Ligonier Valley. I mean, they're newcomers to the Whipville. Welcome to the Whipville, Ligonier Valley.
Yeah.
Apollo Ridge is a really strong team. They got a running back named Logan Harmon who ran for 1,400 yards last year, 18 touchdowns. As Mike said, I just don't see Freeport being able to match that kind of offensive output. Their quarterback, the one that took over for Garrett King since he's out, Zach Clark, he played much better in the second half last week, but Apollo Ridge is much better than Deer Lakes. And I think Apollo Ridge is going to win this game. 2 scores, not really a blowout, but I think they're going to win the game pretty handily. I got 31-17 for the Vikings. All right, Valley coming to – I believe this game is being played at Mars, by the way.
Is that Mars?
Check
Yep,
that.
yep.
Is that Mars?
Okay. North Catholic playing at the Mars Athletic Complex against Valley. Valley's been down for several years. We know what North Catholic has. Mike, do you see an upset in the making here?
No, this could be pretty ugly. I think Joey Prentice builds on what he did last week. He might have another 6-touchdown game in this one. North Catholic just seems like they're determined. They had that disappointing playoff loss last year, and I think it really kind of shook them up a little bit, woke them up a little bit. And I think this year they've come back with a renewed focus. I think they're going to roll again. I think 55-14. I think they're going to have no problem finding the end zone.
John, do the Trojans keep rolling?
They do. I don't know if Derry lost everyone from last year or what their graduation situation was from a year ago. I was stunned when I saw how easily North Catholic handled them. 55-7, I think it was. And Valley lost by 9 points to Burrell. North Catholic's not Burrell. Easy win for the Trojans. I picked 44-12 North Catholic.
44-12 North Catholic. I do know that Derry had a running back from last year named Justin Huss. Ran for about 2,000 yards, a ton of touchdowns, and I know he graduated. So they're probably trying to figure out how to run that offense without that workhorse. I like North Catholic in this game. I don't think it's going to be competitive at all. I got the Trojans winning 47-8. Du Bois area at Karn City. Obviously, Du Bois has bigger numbers. They're a bigger school, but they're in the large division with Karn City because the large division is basically 2, 3, and 4A. John, do you see Karn City beating the Beavers on Friday?
Well, here it is. I mean, Du Bois last week, they lost to Brookville 28-14, and they gave up 383 yards of passing to Jack Krugger of Brookville, who was D9 player of the week, by the way, based on those efforts. I don't know the last time Karn City threw for more yardage than they rushed for. They did that last week in their victory over Monitor, 167 yards passing, 129 rushing. I don't know the last time that's happened. Karn City's been such a predominantly rushing team for so long. I think Karn City they're proving they can throw the ball. And Micah Rupp and Caden Shear, they got 2 outstanding threats at pass receiver. They're gonna use that. They're gonna defeat the Du Bois. I'm picking 21-8 Karn City.
Mike, do you agree?
And don't forget Nathan Waltman, the big tight end in the middle.
Yep.
They didn't really throw to him last week, but he's a big target, and he can be a weapon in that passing game. And all those running backs that they cycle in are good receivers too. Karn City has a nice little 2-headed quarterback situation going on with Braden Christie and Eric Boer. I was impressed with both of them. They both are a little bit different. Boer looks like he throws a better ball, but Christie can move around, throw on the run. So they're going to be a handful this year. I think they're going to get their running game going a little bit.
Oh, they will.
Too.
They always do.
Montauk game plan was obviously let's stop the run and take our chances with the passing game. They got burned a couple times. But I think Karn City is going to hit on all cylinders against Du Bois this week. I see them winning 45-21.
Air Sherwin could be.
Hey, if you got it, use it.
Absolutely.
If you got 2 great receivers, big tight end, running back gets the ball, do it.
Why not throw it?
Why not throw it?
Well, last week I picked Carson City to lose, and they won 31-8. I'm not going to make that mistake again. They're going to beat Du Bois 34-16, Gremlins. All right, moving on to a team that I did pick last week, Montauk. They are at Punxsutawney on Friday. Mike, you deal with Montauk. You talk to Coach Bob Rotman a lot. Do the Warriors go into Punxsy and come out with a win over the Chucks?
Yeah, they bounced back. Yeah, that 31-8 score was a little bit misleading. They gave up a touchdown, 2 touchdowns on special teams, essentially, a punt return and a bad snap that was recovered in the end zone. But like John said, they held Carson City to 129 yards rushing. They got hit by a couple of passes. I know talking to Rotman after the game, he was actually pretty pleased with a lot of the things that he saw, even though it was a 31-8 final. So I think they're not that far off, and I think going to Punxsy, I think it's a good panacea for them this week. I think they get on the winning side here. I think they can score some points this week. 34-20. I think they win.
John, do the Warriors get win number 1 this week?
I think they do, but I think in a kind of a different fashion than Mike's score. I think Montauk does have to figure out their offense a little bit. Their defense, as Mike pointed out, despite giving up 31 points, pretty solid effort against Carson City. Punxsutawney used 3 quarterbacks last week. They got blown up by Clarion.
Quarterbacks.
They had one big play, an 82-yard run, but by one of those 3 quarterbacks. Besides that, their offense did next to nothing. I picked Montauk 20-6. Montauk defeats Punxsutawney.
Punxsutawney struggled for several years now. They're still trying to find their footing, and I think they're going to struggle to get even near a 500 record this year. I think Montauk wins this game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It is a road game. It's a decently long road trip for Montauk, but I think they go up there and get a 21-14 win. Win number 1 or Bob Rotman in 2020.
So you're saying they're the Punxsutawney Upchucks?
Yeah, sure. Upchucks. Slippery Rock at Grove City, rivalry game. This used to be between 2 of our teams. We no longer cover Grove City, but we'll
Grove City, who's that?
We'll definitely still have somebody there on Friday. Grove City hosting the Rockets. Mike, do the Rockets pull off win number 2, or does Grove City pick up win number 1? They lost last week to Hickory, Grove City did.
Well, if you look at Slippery Rock's box score from last week and read about their game, it looked an awful lot like what Grove City box score from the last, 8 years. The short passing game, quarterback completing 80% of his passes, running backs finding openings, for big rushing yards. It looked a lot like Grove City box score of Slippery Rock. Grove City took one on the chin against Hickory, but Hickory is probably the favorite to win that region. This game is going to be close. I think Slippery Rock ends the losing streak. They haven't beat Grove City since 2015. I think they get a win on the road this week. This is going to be another great game. I think it's going to be 28-27. Slippery Rock.
John, you going with GC or Slippery Rock?
I'm going with Slippery Rock. We are running a little short on time. I'm the one looking at our clock here, so I'm just going to give my pick here. Slippery Rock wins a close game, 21-17.
All right. I also picked against Slippery Rock last week. Not doing it again this week. They impressed me with that win over Sharon. I'm picking them to win 20-17 over Grove City. Finally, Union AC Valley at Keystone. Keystone defeated Sheffield last week, 86-0. I think they're going to find the competition a little stiffer this week against the Falcon Knights. John, do the Falcon Knights move to 2-0 up at Keystone?
No, they don't move to 2-0, but they don't lose 86-0 either. I mean, I think they'll give them a fight, but I think Keystone's got a little bit too much. 35-21, Keystone.
Mike, do you agree?
Yeah, Keystone will win this game. I'm going to say 31-21.
All right, and I'm actually going to take Union AC here. I'm high on them early in the season. The Brad Dittman train, I'm on it. 32-21. Right. I like Union AC Valley. Do we have time for the last thing? Because it's really not important.
Go for it.
Okay. In honor of the high school golf season starting, which actually began about 2 weeks ago, we're going to talk a little golf here, but we're going to talk our golf. Mike, me and you don't golf anymore. John, you do.
No, I gave it up.
Me too. So we're going to go with
I couldn't take
when
it
you
anymore.
did hit the links. When you did hit the links, what nickname would best describe you as a golfer?
Who, me?
Mike, yep.
Mike, 3-putt Kilroy. I could not read a green. Reading a green, I might as well have tried to read War and Peace in Russian. That's how bad I was at reading a green. If I could 2-putt, I was happy. I usually 3, 4, 5 putted. So 3-putt. Uh-oh, here am I. Hold on.
John, what would your nickname be? You still golf a few times.
I do. All hack, no back. I mean, my swing is horrible. I don't quit. I don't quite kill as many worms or grasshoppers as I used to. I do get the ball in the air a little bit more, but I have no backswing. We just been joined by a special guest here. So Derek, what's your golf nickname, Derek? What do you call yourself?
Back when I golfed, and I haven't golfed in 10 years, John, but I golfed for about 10 years. You golfed with me several times. I never broke 100.
Yeah.
So my nickname would be C-Note because I never broke 100. Never came close to breaking 100.
C-Note.
C-Note.
All right.
That's me. So long, people. Enjoy week 2. And we'll be back next week to review week 2 and talk about week 3.
Say bye, everybody.
Have a good week.
Thanks.
Bye.